Yahya al-Aridi is the spokesman for the Syrian Negotiation Commission. He joins us now. Thanks so much for speaking to us. At this point, it appears the Assad regime thinks it has reached that final stretch, that it is on the brink of regaining Idlib, and then the war is effectively over. Is that where it stands?
Well, good evening, Andrea. Before just getting into this point of Assad thinking that he has won over his own people, let me just say something about the humanitarian dimension of this whole thing. If 1% of what is happening to Syrians in the north and in other places, in the camp of Arsal, for instance, under the snowstorm, if 1% is happening in any place in the world, I think hell would turn loose and the whole world would come into the rescue of Syrian people. The plague is just happening to Turkey. Turkey's mistake is just being a neighbor of Syria, and it is just getting all this burden. This is one. Another thing with regard to the Assad thinking that he is quite close to finishing the job and winning over his own people, I believe this is a real disgrace, and in particular with the support of the Iranian militias, with Hezbollah militia, and with the Russians. And everybody is just trying to win over those children who are taken by their parents to graves that are not graves, and pain which is unbelievable.
I
this
understand.
Is what is happening.
I understand that it is extremely tragic, but we are where we are, unfortunately. So from this point, how do you see the map of Syria evolving, and do you actually see an end to this conflict?
Well, I see an end to the conflict, but not the Assad regime's way. The Assad regime's way, supported by Russia, thinks that control over geography means winning over his own people and finishing this whole thing. This is a tragedy that has been going on for 9 years. It is a legal matter. It is a human rights issue. It is the Hague in question. It is war crimes being perpetrated. It is not a matter of controlling the geography where the people of this geography do not want you. No one in the northern part of Syria wants the Assad regime to get in. Their propaganda says that the people of the north are calling upon the Assad regime's forces and the to come in to rescue them, which is a sheer lie. If they are calling for them to get into northern Syria, they wouldn't have fled in.
Right. I mean, we understand. No one is.
This is a sheer lie.
No one is actually arguing that Assad is wanted in Idlib province, that they're eagerly awaiting his regime to take power. Again, the problem is this is where the war stands now after almost 10 brutal years. So, are more people supposed to continue dying, or is there a way to actually negotiate a new geographic layout of sorts for Syria, do you think, so that we can bring the violence in this conflict to an end?
Well, there is a possibility, and the ball is in the Russian court. Russia is responsible for the continuity of this regime. And there's a very good relationship between Russia and Turkey. Turkey's reputation is now at stake, and it is being humiliated by the militias of Assad, supported by Hezbollah and with the support of the air power of Russia. And we don't know whether Russia wants to just do away with all this relationship. We understand from different sources that Turkey is quite serious about just taking things back to where they started on the 18th of last month. That's one thing. Another thing, the Russians need to stop lying about the violations being perpetrated regarding the Sochi Accord. The Sochi Agreement talks about points or observation points, Turkish and Russian, 12 of them, they shouldn't be crossed. That's one thing. Another thing, they should talk to the regime to go back to that area, to that border. Otherwise, I believe that the Turks are quite serious about what is to happen. And there is another thing. I think the Americans, for once, and I believe they are quite supportive of what Turkey is up to, so is the NATO.
Okay, Yahya al-Aridi, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.